Pardon?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Committee of a Whole for October 30th. Ms. Bulk, if you could please read the roll.
Councilmember Wood?
Here.
Councilmember Garza?
Here.
Councilmember Hussein?
Here.
Councilmember Spatafor?
Present.
Councilmember Spitzley? Councilmember Jackson?
Present.
Councilmember Brown?
Present.
Councilmember Cost?
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you. We have the minutes. Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to move the minutes of the October 16th and the October 19th meeting as written.
We have a motion on the minutes. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. Just want to make an amendment.
Can you turn your microphone on?
Thank you. I just want to make an amendment to the Board Water and Light minutes on the section.
Is there a page number?
Yes, it's page 4. The all source RFP. At the end of my comments, I just want to add, because it's not part of the record here, that I said that I don't want to fight with commissioners and fight about the clean energy goals, and that the only win would be if the Rice plant, natural gas plants, 2 of them are not built. I would like to add that, because that's what I said at the end.
If we have no objections, that's a friendly amendment. Seeing that as a friendly amendment, then motion has been made to approve the minutes with that amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, this is an opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment, this is your turn to come forward, come down to the dais and make your comments. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment?
Sorry it took me so long. I was waiting for somebody else to go first, but comments are towards the proposal that's coming up on the ballot, but it's to K and L of the discussions you guys have on here for the amendments to Chapter 240 and 273 of the Human Relations and Community Service Advisory Board. I think it's been mentioned several times up here from council members that this needs more attention put towards it on what we do with this board, with all of our boards and committees across the board. I don't know why it's still on here for discussion. I'm really hoping, or wishing you all just had put that on file until we got to a point of really being able to give it its due diligence. As we've seen over the last, I don't know, since the budgetary times, and for me for the last 5 years, we have a disconnect in city government, whether it's council, city attorney, mayor's office, whatever it is. There's 2 entities fighting here for power, is what I'm seeing. Council generally speaks for the people. I don't see any real concerning conflict of interest of ways of you guys trying to better your own personal situations, but we've seen a lot of that come out of city government as far as the administration goes. So anytime the administration brings anything to you all, it's under skepticism for me, personally. So when this came to you, knowing everything that we knew prior to this point of why this came to be, the conversations that were had, and I was in those rooms having those conversations when these questions came about, it's very concerning that they still did it. Still tried to come in here and change and amend this thing to take over power of the HRCS board, which we know is a very powerful board. It should be anyways. I also noticed that over the last, I think 2 meetings, they haven't actually had a meeting, so they're sitting in this purgatory of not knowing what they should be doing while our city is literally on fire and we need them more than ever. With that being stated, again, multiple council members have alluded to who had conversations either in this room or in other rooms that we need to look at our charter. It's really concerning, again, that the only negative voices that we're hearing about revising our charter from 1978 is the city government and the administration specifically. Even though they're not supposed to talk on whether or not they'd vote yes or no or how they feel about it, we've heard the mayor speak out publicly about this. We've seen the city clerk's office give a real descriptive negative conversation towards how much money this is going to cost us. I just feel like there's games being played. The community wants to be heard over and over and over again. The only real conduit for that is the city council. And given the fact that you all follow the rules, you haven't really expressed your concerns about opening this or your how you feel about doing that. But I think through your guys' votes and conversations over the last couple months, it'd be a resounding yes from this group that we need to open that up. So with that being stated, vote yes on the charter amendment revision. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this time?
Hello, everyone. I too want to speak about the ongoing discussion having to do with the HRCS and potential amendments to the charter to what I would, as a citizen, see as stripping away a lot of the transparency and the layer of accountability that the HRCS board has when it comes to being a stopgap and a liaison for the community. I also see them as what is currently and should have been, and this is where this came up, is it came up as a question as we understand that they were not operating in the ways that they could have been and should have been, meaning they are a substantial avenue for individuals, for residents, for our community to be able to go to when they have concerns or they have issues or they need advice or they need support, especially specifically to discrimination. And these are things that have been going on that we know have happened in our community, and folks don't really know that they have avenues for that. So I think stripping away the little bit of, again, transparency and accountability and having a liaison between community and government to strip away those duties, those responsibilities, again, it really does not bode well. It doesn't support, the fact that we keep saying that we want civic engagement, that we want transparency in government, that we want to support the community. So I just ask you again, if we want this board to remain even relevant, because if we strip these things away, it is literally just another committee that meets. What is the point of having that? And understandable separating out the grant duties, the grant responsibilities, but that is one fraction of the importance of the board. The other thing I want to point out is the way that this came about, again, was a question of what is this board supposed to be doing? What can we do? What are the things that we should be doing? That was a very important conversation, and it was so timely and it was so relevant. I was so disappointed to be in a room that when that conversation came about and started to be discussed, the immediate default reaction was for the city attorney's office to start trying to think about ways to strip those things from them. That was so disappointing for me. So then when it comes back around and it's this conversation, I'm just urging you to think about the conversation and saying, this is not something that this should be being discussed as changing a charter to strip those responsibilities. It's yet another example of why there is a push, not just from a handful of people that show up to city council to give public comment. That was quoted, that was stated, that those are the only people that are for opening the city charter up for review. This is one of those things that should be reviewed by a governing body, by an elected body that is going to review it in a formidable way, have discussions on it, and then if it's decided that's something that wants to be changed, it goes back to the people for a vote. So it's just another example of why we would want to, again, every 12 years we look at this, because 12 years is a long time and things changed. It doesn't matter if it was not looked at 12 years ago, it may not have been needed. I think there's a number of things that have come up just this year alone that we would say we want to review. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this time? Seeing no one, we will move into our presentations, and the first one is Capital Regional Airport. So if you would come forward, Nicole, and take a seat at the table. And then make sure the green light is on. You have to,
There we go.
okay.
How we doing, everyone?
We're doing good, thank you.
Good. Thank you again for the opportunity to be able to join you tonight. Again, I'm Nicole Nall-Williams. I'm the President and CEO for the Capital Region Airport Authority. We own and operate the Capital Region International Airport and Lansing Jewett. So tonight, the goal is to give you some updates of some of the development projects that we're working on, get some status of where those are and what we're working on for future, and I'll hopefully answer some questions that you guys might have as well. So of course, as you open up the slide, we're on to, I think I need to click this. Do you have the presentation up on the screen? There we go. You can go on to slide 3. There we go. So as you look at this slide, the Airport Authority is managed with appointees from the city of Lansing and from Ingham County. And then, of course, we have ex officios in Clinton and Eaton County. The airport in Lansing actually sits in all 3 counties, Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton County. So we've got representation from all 3 counties, of course, with City of Lansing and Ingham County being voting members. As you look at the Airport Authority, as I mentioned, where our 2 key priorities, of course, the Capital Region International Airport in Mason-Jewett, our 4 key priorities moving forward. So as I came on board just over about 2.5 years ago, looking at both retain and expand the domestic and international passenger service, increase cargo tonnage, as well as increased land utilization, land development, and corporate and general aviation development as well. So those are the 4 key criteria as we look at moving forward. All of them hit the Lansing Airport, and of course a primary focus on the land utilization and the corporate and general aviation use down at our Mason-Jewett Airport. So on to the next slide, highlighting our $4 billion economic impact that the Lansing Airport has on the region. A little over 2,000 acres of land. And I think one thing to keep in mind as we talk about the airport, we have a small team, right? There's 42 of Capital Region Airport Authority employees. So from maintenance, operations, public safety, administrative offices, but you actually have over 700 people that are employed and working out at the Lansing Airport. So whether it be UPS, a little over 200 employees that we have at UPS, to the ground handlers that handle the Delta flights, the American flights, the FAA, TSA, car rental companies. So there's a lot of individuals that are impacted by the efforts and the work that's being done at the airport for growth and future and supporting that region. There's 2 airports in the state of Michigan that have a U.S. Customs entry, port of entry status, a federal inspection station, and that's Detroit Metro and Lansing. So we opened that, announced it back in 2009. 2010 is when we started our first international flights in and out of Lansing, both for primary focus on the passenger side, but also cargo. We've had some cargo aircrafts come in and out over the years to help support those efforts. UPS has a Michigan hub located in Lansing, and I'll talk a little bit more about them, but we've got a little over 63 million pounds of cargo that's going in and out of Lansing. So a significant amount of cargo and activity first thing in the morning. So just think of your logistics circle of what happens first thing in the morning, later in the evening. Those are the key prime times out at the airport for UPS and their operation. On to the next slide, we've got Mason-Jewett, which is a little about 81 aircrafts that are based down in Mason. And I think one of the key things down at Mason is really the Lansing Community College mechanics program. So if you go on to the next slide, you can see LCC's mechanic technology program has been in place for over 65 years. First started up at the Lansing Airport, then moved down to the Mason-Jewett Field Airport, still owned by the Airport Authority. And students attending those LCC classes are taking 9 FAA exams. When they complete those exams, you've got basically all those kids that are walking out with 2 different job offers at least, as a minimum of 60K plus job salary range. So it's a great field. We're doing everything we can to help make sure that the school districts in the region are aware of this as being such a great opportunity. Back in 2016, it was Delta Airlines came to Lansing Community College and said, we need to address the shortage in workforce in the mechanic side. And so they partnered with LCC to support their efforts. And last year, I was told that there were 6 graduates that are now working for Delta Airlines. So it's a great feed into an industry that we have a demand and need for. On to the next slide, highlighting some of the key things. We're going to talk about airline development, the flight school, or Aviation Career Institute, cargo ramp expansion, site readiness, road improvement projects, our foreign trade zone, the Airport Capital Improvement Program, and our master plan. So I'll highlight a few of these real quick. So on to the next slide, you're going to see Velo Airlines. Have any of you had the opportunity to use the Avelo Airlines service? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome sauce. Okay, I like that. They started up service just over a year ago. It was October of 26th last year, and nonstop service to Orlando International Airport. So great rates, leaves Thursdays, so their operations are Thursdays and Sundays. 737s, nonstop from Lansing, about 2 hours and 15, 2 hours and 20 minutes to Orlando International Airport. In comparison to other low-cost carriers that go in neighboring airports, Avelo's focused on the main hub airports going in and out. So we've had some great discussions with them. They're working on partnering with Apple Vacations this next year and looking at other destinations throughout this next year. So as we continue to put, I always say, butts in seats of these airplanes, we hope that we get additional airplanes here to help support our market as well as get us into other destinations. On to the next page, we talk about Apple Vacations. Again, those services started, we actually announced, we opened up our international facilities. I was with the airport at the time. We opened up our port of entry, our federal inspection station, back in 2009 in June, beginning of June. By the end of June, Apple Vacations announced their first season of service out of Lansing. 15 international flights in 2010 when we started to Cancun. Last year, we had 58 international flights. So Apple Vacations has seen the opportunity of this central location in the state. They've been able to eliminate all of their charters that they have in and out of Detroit and moved everything to Lansing. So the important thing is that we continue to support their services, their efforts. We really draw from the entire state. We even pull passengers from Canada that fill up these flights now that we have 3 weekly to Cancun, 2 to Punta Cana, 1 to Montego Bay. They start the end of January, run to the first part of April. So it really hits your winter breaks, your college spring breaks, your high school spring breaks during that peak period of time. And it's been a great partnership, even as Apple has been purchased by multiple entities over the years. This continues to be a priority for them, and we've seen continual growth. So we're excited about that program. On to the next slide. Of course, our legacy carriers, Delta Airlines and American Airlines. Delta throughout this past year has added additional frequency to Detroit. American Airlines has added another flight to Chicago. We've been able to secure our Washington, D.C. service, and thank you for your support because we had multiple letters that were submitted. I say just shy of 1,000 letters were submitted for this campaign to DOT and FAA, requesting them to continue to extend the slot, which is a designated time to fly in and out of an airport. Not every airport is a slotted airport, but DC, Reagan National is. And we were able to get awarded another 5-year extension. So that's in place until October of 2028. Between now and then, I'll be working on efforts to try to get this so it's exclusive to Lansing. American Airlines wants to continue the service. And what would be ideal is if we can get to a position that this is not up for renewal every 3 to 5 years where we have to do a letter writing campaign. It does provide some great marketing to get everybody engaged and re-energized on our service to DC, but it'd be great to get that locked and loaded in DC, and I'll keep you guys abreast as that comes together. But it was another great win for us and for this region to have that re-secured. On to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the Aviation Career Institute. So when I first came back on board, of course, one of those key issues and concerns in the industry was still a pilot shortage, and which is still today. It's an ongoing challenge, but we're starting to see things going in the right, trending in the right direction to support our carriers for growth. So we can sit back and we can say, woe is us, you know, we're a small community airport and we're going to be one of the first ones that's going to be impacted, or we get engaged and see if there's opportunities to be able to establish a program to create more awareness and education to the opportunities that there are in aviation. And that's really Sean that runs the Eden RISA program, superintendent at Eaton Risa came to the table and said, hey, I want to start a career institute. The focus of this career institute is not just to be a pilot, not just to be a mechanic, but it's also what it means to be a part of the ground, what it means to be FAA, TSA, the customer service side. It is a broad view of what is available in aviation, and this is being shared with the students, juniors and seniors in high school, and it's available for students in Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton County. So we've got, the program started in August, and we've got students from Fowler that are coming in, from Holt, from Catholic school, from, everywhere throughout the district. So about 50 kids are signed up into the program, half day in the morning, half day in the afternoon, and some of those students are already working on their hours, those that want to be a pilot. And it's been a great introduction to get folks pulled into this industry. And I think one of the key things in the next slide, and that's where Crosswinds Aviation is providing those pilot hours, those training hours. So if any of you are interested in getting your pilot's license or want to work on getting your additional hours if you're a pilot already, Crosswinds does have an aircraft base now in Lansing, and so there's an opportunity for you as an individual if you would like to get your private pilot's license. You can do that right here at the Lansing Airport. On to the next slide. This is the area that I wanted to continue to highlight with Eaton Risa. Of course, coming back, one of those issues in pilot shortage, and I think maybe I talked about this last time I came in, but I'll highlight this again. Back in 2009, there was an awful accident called the Colgan accident. The family members from all of those that perished on the aircraft and the one individual on the ground, the families united and went to DC and said, we wanted to see change. We want to see change in regulations. So between 2009 and 2013, and I should say even before 2013, the amount of hours that you needed to be a pilot and fly in the right seat of an aircraft is 250 hours. So 250. So in 2013, regulations changed that jumped it from 250 to 1,500. Now, if you come out of the military, it's 750. If you have a bachelor's in aviation, it's 1,000. If you have an associate's in aviation, it's 1,250. But if you come out to the airport and just start working on your hours, it's 1,500 hours. So you're looking at about an $80,000 investment that's not paid for by FAFSA, by student loans, your standard student loans. So one of the concerns that Sean heard back from the parents for the students that wanted to get involved in the Career Institute was the access to funds, to be able to get their young adults into the field and get them flying, and how can they afford to get it going. And we were able to meet with April Klobus at MSU FCU, and she came to the table all on board. So her team is working with Sean and those students that are going through the Eaton Risa program to provide loan programs. So if I want to be a pilot, I can start working on this process and get loans along the way and approved as I complete one exam after the next, after the next. And April didn't, of course, she didn't stop there. She also provided a scholarship program for the students going through. So we'll have two $5,000 scholarships that'll be provided to the students that submit their application. We've got representation from the board, from Pilots Association to community leaders and those folks that are tied in with the Eaton Risa program with MSU FCU for that selection process. So another great program that came together just by bringing all the right players at the table to have these discussions and figuring out how do we create a solution here. So on to the next slide, just show a photo of the space. And this is actually being held at the second floor of the airport terminal. I should note, since I've been on board, we've had multiple spaces that were still available for lease at the airport. I would have to make space for new leased space in the airport. Our hangar is leased, all of our warehouse space is leased. The second floor is now completely leased. Chris Holman, many of you know, has Michigan business network publication. He moved that out to the airport within that space, right out in front of TSA. So there's been a lot of great movement, a lot of interest to get involved and engaged in consolidation, where we've seen even one of our cargo carriers that flies for UPS has eliminated another training facility or maintenance facility they had in Salt Lake City, shifted all those jobs here to Lansing, and leasing a warehouse or a hangar that the airport has. On to the next slide, we've got our cargo ramp expansion project. So this was a great win. First came on board, the team came together looking at projects that were still there and available, and looking at congressionally directed spending dollars on the federal side that focused on infrastructure. Of course, airports are one of those key things that were being looked at as part of these funding projects. The cargo ramp was one of those projects. We had completed the initial phases, but wanted to finish that project. We were awarded the funds on the federal side, and with a couple additional grants, we were able to move forward with that project. That expansion is, you can see in the next couple slides, it's about 7 football fields that have been added to cargo ramp space. So in the morning and at night, you'll have 2 to 3, depending on the time of the year, we'll have up to 5 of a larger wide-body aircraft from UPS coming and going first thing in the morning and at night. And then those suppliers that are taking the smaller aircrafts going throughout the state of Michigan and neighboring states, they're filling up those aircrafts, bringing those products back down here and vice versa. So it's that logistics circle. So if we see MEDC move forward with a development project that's up in, let's say, Marquette, if there's product that needs to be next day, those products are going on UPS's plane out of Lansing. So we've got to be prepared to help make sure we've got the infrastructure to support growth throughout the state of Michigan. And that's where this expansion project helps create that opportunity. Also for us to continue to push and support the opportunity for international growth for services in and out of Lansing as well. So you're going to have to jump up a couple slides. We're now at the cargo routes UPS operations, so you can kind of see where traditionally the UPS planes are going into Rockford, into Kentucky, over to California on a regular basis. On the next slide, you can see their carriers that are supporting them, filling up the larger aircrafts out of Lansing on a daily basis with Martin Air, Ameriflight, and Flight Runners Express. So it's a great development, great operations. We've got the cargo ramp will be done in about 2 weeks. In addition, we also secured state funding necessary to add another container pond. So the runoff from glycol fluid off of the ramp in the winter months, when you're thinking about your planes being de-iced, that's brought down, contains into a pond. It's diluted before it's submitted into the city, into the regulations that we need to before it can go into sewer. So with us expanding the cargo ramp space, we also needed to make sure they had the capabilities to address any of those concerns. And that's what that additional project provided support of. Now we're on to the site readiness page of the presentation. This was an economic development grant application that we went after. So as we're talking about land development, we've got to make sure that we actually have land available to build. And one of those key things is having, as leased land, we've got to have the utilities there so it's build ready. Can't have a company come out and say, hey, we're ready in 6 months, we need to start construction, and it's going to take me a little over a year to be able to get my utilities in. We've got to be proactive and help make sure that we've got the capabilities for growth. So we went after an economic development grant. We were able to secure $3.6 million in that grant application. We've done all the preliminary surveys. This will break ground. We'll break ground on this project before the end of March next year. And it'll bring on our sewer, electric, so we, in a 47-acre area of land, will be build ready. It's straight across the street from the cargo ramp expansion project. So that's where the Port Lansing warehouse is located. That's completely leased out as of right now. And then we've got another local corporation that is, sits within that area of land, and we'll see likely a groundbreaking from them for a second building. first part of next year, and maybe by the end of next year, a third building will be added within this space that we're working on bringing these utilities. On the next slide, you'll see kind of an aerial that overviews that. So if you're familiar with the airport, just on basically the top side of that warehouse, the Port Lansing, that's where the UPS space is. Bottom right-hand side would be where the National Guard is, across the road from Emergent Biosolutions. So you can see that space that we're focused on for some of the future land development and looking at opportunities that have a connection or a need for international trade, but also supporting the logistics that's right across the street with UPS. On to the next slide, we highlight the roads improvement project. So one of the key things here on the state side, looking at funds to help support the overall infrastructure, our roads are one of those key things that we cannot access federal funds for, except for like our standard FAA dollars support the access right near the front of the terminal. But the boulevard in Port Lansing that the airport owns, there's no FAA dollars to support those types of projects. So we're able to secure funding. We just went out for an RFQ, received a great response, 8 different bids on the project. Will be under design, looking at both the north-south, east-west, how do we improve the flow to feed up probably to both 69 on both the east and west side of the airport, as well as the Grand River access and improving that access in and out of Grand River to focus on the Capitol and Michigan State University. So that project will really probably be in design most of next year. I would anticipate that we'd actually start moving forward with the project in early of 25. We'll see how the timeline goes. On to the next slide. You heard me talk a little bit about foreign trade zone. Foreign trade zones helps corporations keep their businesses here in the region when they're manufacturing certain items where they can defer or eliminate various taxes or duties. You can use it also as a warehouse. So if you're importing products, you don't have to pay the tax or duty on it until you turn around and you sell it, take it out of the designated warehouse or the space into the United States. And we have a Foreign Trade Zone 275. It covers 8 counties, and this will be one of those priorities as we work in next year's focused items for land development, cargo development. We have to make sure that we're helping to create further education and awareness. We're working with LEAP and with Chamber and other regional economic partners to make them aware of this being available and trying to see if there's some partners that we can help attract into this region by having basically access to this tool to support their efforts. The next slide, we highlight the Airport Capital Improvement Program. So all these projects that we've talked about thus far, these are above and beyond your normal airport FAA dollar projects. On to this next slide, we're focusing on funds that we traditionally receive from FAA that's looking at master plan development, which takes about 1.5 years for us to complete. We've already started this project. Our master plan is going to look at 10, 15, 20 years down the road. We're going to have some established forecasts for passengers. We're going to talk about total infrastructure of that 2,000 acres. What are we going to do, or what's going to be maintained as aeronautical use, non-aeronautical use? Is there aerospace manufacturing that we could tie into some of this land to secure additional jobs and development right here? Those are some of the key things that we'll be focusing on with a master plan. Should be complete by the end of next year. Depending on some of these key project lines and if we can get a little bit back on schedule. We ran a little bit behind on some of the forecast work to make sure we've got some accuracy and some consistency with the firm that we're working with. So it's been a positive change as we move forward. Some of these other key things is, as I talked about the cargo ramp designs, some of the state and federal funds that we receive from some of those projects. Terminal apron, that's basically the space that the aircrafts are coming and going up next to the airport and the jet bridges. We've got runway rehab that we'll be working on for design and construction. So that's our primary runway. It'll be the center section of the runway that needs to be rehabbed. So those are projects that will happen As soon as the last plane arrives, all hands on deck throughout until 5 o'clock in the morning when UPS comes in with their wide-body aircraft. So these are some of the just forecasted items. On the next slide, you'll see an update for Mason, Jewett, including taxiways, removing obstacles, trees, getting them out of the way, so as you are coming into land or to take off, that they are removed from the space, looking at apron design costs. All of these projects, as many of you are aware of from projects you're working on here for the city, we're looking at a 20-30% increase from where we were before. So there's times that we're looking at some of these projects, we may have to wait another year before we can actually move forward till we have the funding available to be able to move forward with some of these projects. I highlighted some of the things pertaining to our master plan, and over the next couple slides really highlights the focused areas, some of the projects that will be completed throughout this. And we've got a great group of community folks that are tied in, whether they're FAA, TSA, developers here in town, to look at some of this future projects for the airport. So the last couple slides, you see the Lansing Airport, everything highlighted within the yellow on the map on that aerial is Capital Region Airport Authority owned land, and then the last slide is my contact information. So a lot of information just kind of thrown at you, but open to any questions that you guys might have.
Council members, do we have any questions for Nicole? Do we see? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I do want to just say I did cheat on Delta, and use Avello this summer, and it was great. So if you have not used that to go to Florida, it was a great thing. I took my whole family,
That's
and
fantastic.
it was a seamless experience. And I've been on the airport board in the past, and so some of this stuff I'm really pleased to see. I think it's good. I'm glad you're at the helm. So it looks like, though, as you're looking at some of this stuff, which I think is great, a lot of it is focused on cargo. And I remember when I was on the board, we were talking about how do we get, more people to think passenger, Lansing, because we would cover those, a wide range of folks.
Yep.
How is kind of like the Michigan Flyer and some of the other things impacted keeping people flying out of Lansing? And by the way, your 6 a.m. flight, I love it. It's a love-hate relationship for me.
I mutually agree with you on that love-hate relationship with an early morning flight. First off, thank you for your support. All the council members have been extremely supportive of the projects that we've been working on. Reach out when there's something that's sitting there that go, wait, I'm hearing this from people in the community. What can you tell me? So I appreciate you guys reaching out and that ongoing support. Cargo is one of those key projects for us and the land development piece to it, but air service we're an airport, and we got to continue to support the services that we have available. And so kind of one number off the top of my head from a discussion with TSA, we're above 60, we've increased 60% in traffic, meaning individuals going through TSA from last year September to this year September. So we're seeing some significant growth in the passenger numbers and those that are supporting the airport. Combination of we've got to continue to put butts in the seats of the planes so we can get additional planes here. And by myself and others on my team going out and working with folks throughout the community and neighboring communities, making sure people understand the services that we have available and the economic impact it has. Because how many times are you coming in and out of the airport and you're stopping at a gas station along the way, you're stopping at some maybe a fast food restaurant, or you're stopping at a grocery store, and if you're going down the road to another location, you're still getting gas somewhere else, not in our community. So it's one of those key things that we got to think bigger and broader than just I want to put my, flying it out of Lansing, it's the economic impact that you present by doing so. You mentioned using the Avelo service, so thank you for your support on that. I too fly Delta a lot. I'm on American as well, and one of the things that I always tell folks when I'm going back and forth to DC, knowing our DC flights are just one a day, I traditionally will take that Dark 100 flight from Lansing to Detroit, easy connection, and I am in DC by 9 a.m. So I can do meetings all of that next day, meetings the next day, and then I turn around and I can hop back on that nonstop on American coming back. So think about using those options going to and from DC if that schedule works better for you. But we've seen a lot of great support from the region, but we just have to continue to make people aware, and I need all of you to help be my voice. I need you to be out there talking to folks and tell them that they need to try the services from Lansing. If you're in any out of an airport, there's going to be delays, there's going to be cancellations, things are going to happen. And it's not just here in Lansing, right? So you think it happens once, it's always happens. I mean, there was this, kind of routine years ago that there was lots of delays and cancellations. There's been a lot of improvements over the years since then. So we ask folks to think about trying to fly the services out of Lansing first. Thank you.
Okay, Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. Well, good evening, Nicole. Thanks for being here this evening. I appreciate it. I wasn't really going to say anything, but I too have used Avelo. Flew out of there last March, and then we'll be flying out again this March with my family, take my dad to his 70th birthday party. Had a nice young gentleman in the audience there that was helping us on the plane and off the plane. And actually one of our Board of Wire and Light commissioners was getting off as I was getting on. So we definitely like seeing, people from this area flying the plane. Not to mention the parking is way cheaper than Detroit.
Yeah.
So it's usually half the cost, when I stay for a week. So anyways, appreciate you being here and definitely support Capital City Airport.
Thank you. And again, it's important that we're a vocal community. So whether you're a Delta loyal flyer, an American flyer, or a Velo, or Apple Vacations, I'm asking all of you, go to the comment section on these airline websites, voice your support, ask for more service. The more vocal we can be, the better it will be to kind of support our efforts and what we're trying to do to expand opportunities.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Vice President.
Sorry, one more question.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Is Avelo going to do any points in the future? Do you know?
There's a lot of discussions going on with destinations. I stay tuned.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? Nicole, I think I know one of the things that you've worked on before, and that's meeting with different companies, MSU, Accident Fund, and encouraging them to have their employees, when they're traveling, fly through the Lansing Airport. Have we been able to increase any of that over the last couple of years?
We have. I think a combination of both. We're seeing it in the numbers as we get out of the pandemic and slowly get services back in our market. And so we're seeing those increases. But the Mid-Michigan Business Travel Coalition, which is a group of community corporate leaders. So you've got Paula Cunningham, who's the president of AARP, is the chair of the coalition. You've got representation there that's from Michigan State, from AP Capital, from Auto Owners, Farm Bureau. The list continues to grow, and their engagement continues to help provide support for other opportunities to help add to grant application requests that we're going after. So for example, if I'm going after potentially air service support for a minimum revenue guarantee or marketing dollars, that's a federal grant application that we can go after at the airport. We're now not just looking at the airport and us providing the marketing dollars to support a program of new service. We now have the corporations in the region that are also providing dollars to support new services coming into our market. So it's been great. I continue to work with the coalition as well as myself, just going out and meeting with corporations and all the other city, county boards and creating awareness to the services. So we've definitely seen some improvements, but there's always room for growth and opportunities.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
down here and the wealth of information that you provided tonight. So thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, council members, next on the agenda is the Community Relations Liaison Report. If you remember during the budget process, a number of you asked that we have different departments or different people within a department to come back and to give us a description of what they were doing and what they were achieving out there. So I had Sherry reach out to Ms. Solis and ask her to be here. We were informed that she would not be here. We were then told that we would be getting a written report. So you have that report in your packets for you to read. We also received an email from Mr. Lawrence with that report saying that that if there were any questions that in advance of the meeting tonight or that came up because of after reading the report, that he would be glad to get those back to her. So I want you to know I tried to fulfill your request and was unable to do that. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. So was it a function of a scheduling snafu or?
No, my understanding is she did not want to be down here at the council meeting. And so the mayor agreed to allow her to do a written report.
So, well, I mean, I'm going to be gone, so I guess I'm not going to worry about it. But is that going to be what's going to happen from now on? We're not going to be able to have department heads come down and speak?
I have no idea.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. After you've read your report, if you have questions, if you would get them to Sherry, then we can get them onto Ms. Solis. Okay, that takes us to our next presentation, and that's the Public Safety Complex update. And gentlemen, if we could have you come forward and we'll get you additional chairs up there if you need them. I think Mark is moving, so you can use both chairs there. And John, if you would like to introduce everyone, and then we'll let you start the information.
Great. Hi, everyone. It's been, thanks for having us here. It's been a long time since we've been here. It's exciting
Is the
to
green
see.
light on the mic?
Yes, am I not
Okay,
close?
you're good now. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you for having us here. It's exciting. Tonight we have Roy Plowman from the city. We have Martin Ryder from Hudson Black, and we've got Rob Crow from Chrisman Companies. So I'm gonna let Roy here give a quick stab at saying hello, and then we'll finish with this update.
And since Roy, you are new to the council, if you would explain what your responsibilities are with the city and when you started and where you came from, it would be helpful.
I started in July of this year. I am a project manager, but that's a broad stroke term. Really, I'm a specialized project manager. I am a sponsors advocate, which is usually the person that ushers a project through from concept to completion. This is something I've done for 25 years. It's part of my DNA at this point. I have worked at Board of Water and Light, I have worked in a few local private firms, and I've spent most of my time at Dart Container Corporation in Mason. I was in that same role. I've always been a sponsor's advocate or a sponsor acting on behalf of an executive sponsor for those 25 years. I've worked with projects all across North America, globally, but most of my projects were the southern part of North America. Any other questions for me?
So you are a city employee?
That is correct. I am a city employee, yeah.
Okay.
Mayor's office, ma'am.
I don't believe this was in, when we passed the budget, that was part of the budget, but, okay. Any other questions? All right. Would you like to continue on?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a presentation here for you guys tonight.
Okay.
Love to just walk through this. Tonight we want to be very intentional with your guys.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. I just have a blank document. I don't have a report.
Okay, it's on the screen. You don't have printed copies for us.
I do not have printed copies for you, no.
Can we send that? I can't see this up here.
Pardon?
Can we get a printed copy? Because I can't
They
see.
don't have them.
I have a few.
I
That would
can't
be
see
helpful.
it. Thank you.
From now on, I'll make sure that I print some copies off for
Yeah,
the
I'll
council.
take one if you don't mind for staff. Do this one. One of the things when you do presentations with the council, that's convenient for the audience, but it's not always convenient for council members. So we like to put notes on them and then take them when we're going out to meetings and that. So if we could make sure that when you make presentations, you do have the printed copies, that would be great.
I will make sure that happens from now on. So the best part, or the main part of this presentation, or really the only information that you'll see on this presentation, is rendering and site plan. So from now on, again, we'll make sure that we have printed copies for everyone. Apologize about that. So tonight, again, being intentional and thoughtful with everyone's time, we wanted to give an update on the project. We wanted to explain how excited we were. We wanted to introduce ourselves because this is the first time in over a year since you've seen us. And we've been working really hard on this project. So we're excited to kind of unveil what this project has become over the past year and after the approval of the bond. So again, I introduced everybody, I think, except for myself. But again, my name's John McGraw, president of River Caddis Development. Our role in this project is owner's representative. So we're representing the city on successful completion of this project. So what we're going to do today is walk through what we've done from where we are in a budget perspective, what we've done in design, what our next steps are, and then allow you guys to ask some questions because this is a very complex project. There's a lot going on in it. Just to refresh everyone's memory. I can't even. Just to refresh everyone's memory, this project is multi-part. We have a combined facility that has police, fire, and justice, or the District 8 Court and Detention Center. We have renovations of fire training, in fire stations 2, 8, and 9. The budget that was approved by the voters was $175 million. Ooh, we skipped a little ahead on there. So that was the site plan. And then recently we just had our groundbreaking, the 26th. And instead of a groundbreaking, it was a first responder appreciation. Nationally, the first responder Appreciation Day is the 28th, and it was lucky enough to fall very close to 26th, where we also did a groundbreaking. And it was a very special day for the city, for all the first responders, and for us, for the project team. And we're just very fortunate and grateful to be here representing the city. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this off to Rob, and Rob's going to talk about where we are with the budget today.
Good evening, everyone. As John indicated, my name is Rob Crow. I'm a vice president with the Crispin Company. It's my opportunity to give you a budget update for the project, and I'm happy to report it's a short and sweet update. Based on our experience with this type of project in these current market conditions, given the information that was assembled during the programming phase of the project, I'm confident to report that the project can be completed within the project budget.
I'm sorry, Madam President.
Councilmember Spitzley.
So there's nothing on the slide. Is that so? You intended to have a blank slide? I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure that we're not seeing something where. Okay,
Yep.
That's all. All right. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
That was the update. I could state it again, but yeah, we are
What?
on budget at this stage of the project.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It means the project has an overall budget of $175 million based on where we are in the process and our understanding of the requirements of the project and the market conditions that we are operating in. I can tell you we are confident the project will be constructed within that budget.
I thought we received information from the mayor's office that actually the budget, based on information that had been presented, was going to be $150 million, that it was going to be less than what the potential bond out there. Now you're telling me that it's not, it's going to be up to the entire $175 million?
I think I understand, Madam President, what you're stating, and I can't comment specifically on what additional information has been
Well,
discussed.
I'm assuming he got it from the people building it.
Yeah.
I don't think the mayor went out there and...
No, and I'm not implying that he would either. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you, we are going. The project is within budget. That is the update.
Okay.
If I may just add some color to that. We're not saying a number today. What we're saying is the project that was presented under the bond, we're able to do within the budget that was approved. Now, there's a complex process that we're going through that giving a number today is not a good idea because we still have to iron out a lot of details before we can get a number. That's why there's a blank slide. It was used as a guide for the presentation today and for letting you know who's talking. But for today, where we are in this process, what we've presented in terms of uses, we are able to do this within the budget that was approved. And that was the goal of talking today.
John, I appreciate your comment. I am telling you, this body and the public were given information that how excited we were that the bond, it was going to be less than what was approved for the bond, that the press release from the mayor said it was going to be $150 million, reduced from the $175 million that was originally put out there, that the taxpayers would have, it would be less than that. We also waited almost a month from the time we asked for you to be here and for you to coordinate that. And I was expecting more than just the project is moving along, it's in budget, and that's it. I'm, you know, so I thought we were going to be receiving more information than that.
Understood. And I appreciate what you have to say. We have more to talk about today in terms of the update, in terms of what we've done and how we've gotten here. We've done just a ton of programming, ton of background work. a ton of discovery with all of the departments. As you can imagine, there's a lot of work that goes into this large of a project. We do have a little bit more information to give you, but at this time, when we're talking about giving you a direct number, I am not in the position to give you a direct number of what this project costs today. But we do know that we are within budget, and that was the update. I can't help with other things outside of that, but if we could continue with the presentation and explain to you what else we're doing, what's happening down the line, maybe at the end we can answer some of these questions as well.
Okay, we'll give it a try. Can you find that press release, by the way, please? Thank you. Yes.
Are you referring to the interest rate press release? Where our bond rating came in better, so we were getting a better interest rate on the bonds, and that was going to make the debt cheaper? Is that what you're referring to?
I'm referring to the press release that said it was 150 million.
Okay, I'm not sure what that is. I'll look into that too, but the last, my recollection is the last thing that we put out in the press about this was that our bond rating was increased, so the interest rate was lowered, so the bond debt was cheaper. So we were going to get a little more bang for our buck, but I'll look into the 150 million because that's not ringing a bell.
Okay.
Sorry for the mix-up. So I'm going to pass this back over. If we could pull up the presentation to Marty from Hobbs & Black so we can talk quickly about the design and then next steps.
Good evening. My name is Marty Ryder. I'm a vice president at Hobbs & Black Architects. We are the architect of record for this project, and we are very excited about this and being able to support the city of Lansing residents and the first responders that support those residents. If we could get to there are three major projects involved in this. The South Washington Complex, the Fire Station 2, and Fire Station number 8. To date, we have completed the programming, validation, and programming efforts with police, fire, and courts. The result of those efforts is a written and graphic document that is going to be provided to Rob and his team here November 6th. And they'll be going through a pricing exercise to make sure that the scope is represented in the documents, and some of which you'll see here tonight, is within the budget that has been established. The first image up on the screen behind me is the South Washington site. That's a combined public safety site. As you can see, the fire station number 9, which is a new fire station that's going to replace the existing fire station 9, is in the upper right-hand corner, has direct access out onto South Washington. And south of that, down on South Washington, is the public parking for the combined public safety building. That is the major building of this project. It is has the courthouse on the south side for 58 District Court. The fire and police headquarters is on the north side, which is up. That'll be fire and police headquarters, admin. The lockup will be in the lower level. So this building is kind of like a walkout building. It has a lower level, a first floor, and a second floor. All the secure parking for staff will be on the west side or left-hand side of that building. There is a public safety storage building there that'll support police and fire operations. And there is a new fire training facility on the far west end of the property that'll house classrooms and apparatus bay, burn towers, and other items to help support and train not only the local firefighters for Lansing, but also regionally. I think the next slide. So this is an image of the combined public safety building, the main building on that South Washington campus. As you can see, there'll be a main entry element, a very, a civic-looking entry component to this. To the left, the courts, and to the right would be the police and fire admin. And behind that, kind of in the distance, is you can kind of see the fire training facility and the tower back there. One of the other buildings that will also be on this site is Fire Station number 9 on South Washington. That is a 5-bay apparatus fire station. Right now, that fire station is a 2-bay apparatus station. So the apparatus bay is to the right, and then the day room and day-to-day functions will be up front, kind of the main entry element to the left of that image, and it'll have the bunk rooms in the rear. So this is really a massing study, kind of similar to what you saw on the earlier slide for the combined public safety building. So we're studying the massing and the glazing openings and some color combinations and things right now. So this is helping us understand what it's going to look like, some of the color combinations and material combinations that we're going to have for these buildings. Because again, we're trying to create also kind of a link between this building and the combined public safety building from like a materiality kind of connection, and also trying to connect Fire Station 2 also in a way that kind of creates a branding for the fire department in the city of Lansing. Because next slide. So this would be Fire Station number 2 that you're looking at. This is a replacement of the existing fire station over on Grand River and Raymond Drive. We've already worked out with Chief Sturdivant about how he's going to demobilize from this station and disperse the equipment and the firefighters. He's worked out mutual aid agreements already for the coverage for this area of the city. This is a 2-bay apparatus bay fire station. But right now, the existing fire station is a 2-bay, but the bays are very small, and you have to back up into the fire station. So it's very problematic from a response and return. And this will also give them a little extra space to add another EMS or ambulance unit to this fire station.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. So is this a complete tear down then and rebuild, or are you renovating?
This is a new fire station. Fire Station 2 will be torn down, and we will build a new Fire Station number 2.
Thank you.
So, Fire Station 8 is, we are working on that right now. We have gone through the programming, and that will be a renovation and addition at Fire Station number 8. We have some floor plans developed for that, but we are still working through kind of the renderings to develop that look of how the other 2 fire stations, again, the materials and colors and different things that we're looking at will translate over to Fire Station 8. And Fire Station 8 is actually slated to be done towards the tail end of this entire project.
So in dealing with the fire stations just alone, are you coordinating so that they're not all going out at the same time, so that we still have the coverage that we need for the city?
Yes, we are. We've worked that out with both chiefs, and they've got mutual aid agreements in place that we know of. We've talked about it, and yes, we can only take one down at a time. So, we talk about taking Fire Station 2 down, but that equipment and the personnel will be dispersed within the other fire stations, but also we'll have mutual aid agreements with like DeWitt Township, and some of the East Lansing and some of the other surrounding communities. So,
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. So the Fire Station 8 on Marshall, isn't it a fairly new fire station? I mean, I'm just asking because I drive by there and it looks fairly new.
It was actually, if I remember correctly, was built in 1978.
Really?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, you're welcome. Time goes by fast.
Yes, it does. Are there other questions on the fire stations? My only other question in looking at these renderings, and that is the front view of the public safety building. It appears from the way this looks as if there's parking in front. Is that correct?
Yes, there is. The public parking will be in the front of the building, and secure parking will be in the back.
How does that conform to the form-based code, where we've just had issues with the fact that of having parking in the front instead of the back?
So we have met with the city planning and zoning department and reviewed the concept site plans. And as far as setbacks, parking, stormwater management, and we've been given approval for the concept plan, site plan that you all saw today.
Okay.
I mean, it would be we did go through the exercise of moving the building closer to South Washington, but there are many issues with doing that. One is trying to keep the public and private parking separate and secure.
I can understand that.
And then
It's
threat
just,
deterrence, so.
And I get that. It's just that I know that there have been some other developments that have wanted to do parking in front and have been told because of form base that they couldn't, and this was commercial property, that they couldn't do it that way. So I just want to make sure that we're being consistent with what's going on. And to clarify, I did have Sherry look up the press release, and it did have to do with the interest rate. So that's what that was.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Councilmember Cost.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name again. Roy. You're working in the mayor's office, you said, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Could you tell us what you're making a year right now?
I make $120,000 a year.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Are there other questions at this point? Councilmember Brown, and then Vice President Garza.
Thank you, President Wood. Thank you all for being here. I do and have received several concerns from constituents that they don't feel that they're up to date. So, we have updates that we really need much more information because I'm not feeling comfortable today at all.
Okay, thank you. Vice President Garza.
All right, thank you, Council President. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I just got a couple questions. First question, I'm not sure who this goes to, but when somebody mentioned regional training at the new facility, will there be any dollars coming in from the outside groups that will be using the training facility as well?
Well, I think that has been a point of discussion that could help offset operational costs, but I would have to defer to Chief Sturdivant or the fire training chief, what kind of rate structure or what they would be doing with, supporting other municipalities to come in for the fire training facility. But we have talked about it.
Okay, I appreciate that. If you do end up getting information that you could share with council, it'd be much appreciated on that.
Certainly.
Thank you. Now, the second question I have is, has any bids went out yet for this project? And if not, when do you anticipate bids going out? And I'd like to see if there's a point of contact that you could share with us as far as for Chrisman, so that we can make sure the building trades are involved in this process.
That's a great question. Thank you. So there have been, we are close to, as a project team, having work bid for the abatement phase. That's not something that Crispin is handling directly, but we can touch on that as a group. But for the building trades, the construction scope, nothing has been bid yet. We're still going through the design process, and those bidding packages will be released depending on the particular building, whether it's the consolidated facility or the different phased for the fire department projects. And absolutely, I would be one of the point of contacts to distribute and then notify when that's all occurring. But we're several months away from the meat of the bidding to occur. But it's a great question.
All right, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think Roy might have an answer for you as well, Vice President Garza.
Mr. Vice President, I meet with the Building Trades Council once a month, and I keep them up to date on the progress of this project as well as others.
No, and I appreciate that, and I'm well aware of that. I just haven't heard of any bids going out yet, so I was just double checking.
Gotcha.
And I also met with John McGraw, and I appreciate you reaching out. You guys have been very transparent moving forward, and I just want to make sure that continues.
Are there other questions? Councilmember Cost.
Yeah, real quick. Do you have any anticipation of where your materials for all of these structures are going to come from? Are they going to be sourced locally?
Go ahead. That's a good question for either Rob or myself, Councilman Cost. So there are certain materials that we can specify for the project to be sourced regionally. Locally, that might be much more difficult. And one of the things we want to be careful about doing is trying to narrow the selection, I guess, the ultimate selection of the products, which could end up costing the city more money. So I think it's a careful balance about, what we look at and can do, I guess, more regionally than specific to the Lansing area proper. But there will definitely be vendors that will be supplying materials for all these projects locally.
So can you give me an example of a product that's going to be cheaper to come out of Grand Rapids? Building material. Are bricks cheaper there?
Well, they could be. Depends on,
Because we have a great brick company right here on Michigan Avenue.
They do. And I don't think we would exclude anyone from bidding on a project or the ability to bid on the brick or the tile or the carpet or anything like that.
Will those be with specific dimensions attached to them already?
We will specify the size of the brick that we would be using on the project, correct?
Okay, so that would exclude people, correct? Because companies have different bricks.
They usually all have the same brick sizes, right? And basically the same color range. So we wouldn't necessarily, usually a lot of times what we do is we have a basis of design because we have to pick something to put that information out there for bidders. And then we would also put in like what we would call acceptable alternates. So we might select like a Young Brothers and Daily Brick or a Belden Brick or another brick manufacturer, and we talk about the size of the brick, the type of brick we want, and the color range that we're looking for. And then we allow the brick suppliers to bid on that. I mean, same thing.
I certainly hope that we use local companies for all of these building materials because while it may cost a few dollars more, it's supporting our local economy here. Because I'm tired of building stuff for Grand Rapids. So thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Just a quick question. I saw the drawings and don't see it on here, but have you all given any consideration to on-site solar for offsetting energy usage at the new facilities? I know we're doing it at wastewater treatment and the city's looking into it elsewhere.
Yes, we are looking into that. there is an entity that is diving into that for us. We're looking at on-site solar and geothermal. The issue with the solar is potentially we don't have a lot of green space at on this project on South Washington, really. So we kind of been looking at like possibly the carports or on the roof of the main building.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Thanks. As long as being considered. Thank you.
Okay, we want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming down, and we look forward to additional information as this project continues to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, that takes us to resolutions. The first one that we have before us is the City Council meeting schedule. This is in your packet. Councilmember Boak and Councilmember Boak. You're welcome.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Well, the only thing is the decrease in pay, so and no benefits. Office manager Boak and the city clerk went through this, and this is the schedule, a proposed schedule for next year's council meetings. And unless anybody sees anything that jumps out, what we'd be looking at is a motion to have it on the agenda this evening. Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council.
Make your motion and then we'll get.
Okay, I make a motion to move the resolution to set the council meeting schedule for 2024.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yeah, I would never question Councilmember Boak's calendaring skills, but there's only one meeting in November. Is there?
Yeah.
Is this just the way the calendar works?
The election is the first week, Veterans Day is the next week, and Veterans Day does fall on a Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last week would be the week of Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Councilmember Boak.
Working with
Okay.
you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion before us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, what we have is we have a resolution to repeal and void Resolution 2023-113. What this is the sale of the parking lot that is on Marquette. This is lot number 50, and in April of 25th, 2022, we approved the sale of this. This went through planning, this went through public hearing, and came to council. And what we found out while Ms. Boak was looking at some other contracts, she saw that this had been put on hold. When she did some additional due diligence on this, we found out that we didn't own the parking lot that we sold, that this belonged to the Lansing Building Authority. So after making it through all those processes, when it came to the final action with the title company, it was determined the city didn't own it. So what this is a repeal of this resolution that approves that. Oh, we're off. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Okay. Does anyone else need any more explanation on this? Seeing none, Vice President Garza.
All right, thank you, Council President. With that, I'd move the resolution to repeal and void Resolution 2022-113.
All right, with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. I know we keep putting these off and moving these down to other agendas, but we are at 5 minutes to 7. And unless there's something that someone wants to discuss in 5 minutes. Councilmember Spataspore.
Are you just kicking these down the road for 63 more days, or are we gonna?
I vote for that.
Well, I'd be glad to put them on pending, and someone can take them up next year if they want, but,
No issues from me.
okay. Seeing no one ready to jump in? Yes.
I know we have only a few minutes, but I do think that as much as we can, because we have a lot of work to do, that the discussions on the HRCS stuff happen sooner than later. I think it's really important that we kind of get this out and do whatever we're going to do about it. So if we can have that as kind of a priority for next time, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you.
Yes.
At the last
Can you
meeting,
please turn on your microphone?
at the last meeting, I believe both of these ordinances were fully discussed, and you asked us to make a couple modifications, and those have been made. One of them was to bring the report from the advisory board on the awarding of grants to the mayor with a copy to the city council. That was one change. The other one was change the word may to shall for HRCS advisory board recommending grants or awarding grants. So those have been made. I mean, I'm not trying to it's just that you discussed all this the last meeting.
Okay, first of all, the one that talks about the grants, if you go to page 4, line 21, that line did not get changed to shall. It still says may, so that needs to get corrected. And yes, we did have a thorough discussion on the grants, but we have not had any discussion on the ones that talk about investigations and evaluations and discrimination. That one we have not had.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, so if you want to if you make that one change
To shall.
to shall, then that one we'll be able
Okay.
to discuss and
All right.
move forward. Okay? Anything else? Yes.
Well, I think I appreciate the comments and that those changes are made, but I don't think that that's all we need to discuss. So I want to be
yeah,
clear that
yeah.
we're going to be discussing a little bit
Yes,
more than
we-
the changes that the city
absolutely.
attorney has made, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
Well, these changes
Okay.
came from council.
I understand.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? We are adjourned, and we will start up at 7:05.